Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to On the Couch with me, Martin Coculiffe. My guest this morning is a very special friend of mine, as have all my guests been, and she comes all the way from Sweden, and her name is AnnCatrin Peterson, and I'm sure you're going to find this talk very interesting from the varied pathway that AnnCatrin's followed from her beginnings with mediumship to where she is now with her work and her life. So good morning, AnnCatrin.
Good morning, good morning. Hi, everyone.
It's lovely that you could come join me on the couch this morning. And I know we've got some interesting questions for you lined up because you sent me some of the subjects. And the first thing I want to start with, as I've done with most of the guests, is you said that you started back in 1992, but how did it start?
It started with that I went in the famous wall of burned out at my work. And at the same time, before I went burned out, I could feel a presence. But in my whole life, everything that was with the spirit world, people have taught me that it was fantasies. So I didn't believe it as something for real. I thought it was fantasies before. And now I started to hear it much more. I could see angels and I could have words coming in my head like, nothing will be as it has been. Easy will be heavy and heavy will be easy and such in matter of life. And then after that I went in wall.
But you've done lots of varied things. So when you started hearing these voices and you said you were seeing angels and hearing the spirit world, did you do anything about the development or did you just follow it naturally?
The thing was, I didn't have anyone to talk to with this. So I put it down in text. I was writing about it like a diary. And I thought it was my mind setting because I had to have the time. So I didn't accept it for real. But I choose to take help from it to do things better for me in life. Sort of. Yeah. And then I met my first medium.
Yes.
That year.
You met your first medium. Who was that?
Yeah, it was an old lady living in a minister's house. Many men from where I was come to her because my brother's earlier wife should go to her. So I tried to have an appointment with her. And I had to wait for a half a year, and everything happened in that half year. And then I met her, May-Britt, an old lady. And when she was talking with me, I realized, my God, it was not fantasies when I saw my grandmother all those years since she died. It was not fantasies. Everything I have experienced from spirit. So then I started my research and listened to them more properly.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your development later in the interview.
Yeah,
your mediumship took an unusual pathway. Well, I think so, because you started studying energy and different forms of energy. And I've visited your house many times because you've been one of my course organizers. And I can remember visiting one time and you've got all these lovely swords. Now I know it isn't just the swords, so I'm not going to say too much about it. I'll let you tell the people, but I think they'll find it really interesting that how you, after these initial inroads into mediumship, that you started to working with different forms of energy in different ways. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. The year went by when I was working on myself and with my spirituality and with experimental with energies. And I had information in my head how to take away headaches and things, how to focus and how to do it. And it worked. Headache disappeared. And I was so surprised with this.
Nice gift.
Very exciting. Yeah, and a lot of meeting with the spiritual where I sometimes see them, sometimes they fill the room. and when you are really touched with spirit, the tears are just going. It's so strong. And after those experiences, I met a group of people who have been talking and put down information from archangels. They have working in a group of, I think it's 5 or 6 persons. And the archangels have give them information how to put out the arc energy from the source and learn how to work with it. And one of these source, what you call it, principles. Do you say that in English too? Principles. Arc principles. From the source. One is the sword. One is the rose and the heart flower. And you have the crown, the horn, and the wings, and the tree. And they have this information and started to work with it. And one person started to put it down for an education. And I went that education. I come in. They did it 1995, 96, and I come into this group of people around end of 96. And then I started to go to education again and again, and then I went to teacher in this area, in this field. But the thing is with these arc principles from the source is that they are self-learning. But you have to do the same thing as the mediumship. You have to sit in the power. You have to sit with the source energy, with the different, you know, if you have a recipe for a good cake, it is a cake. Yeah, but you have the cream, you have the butter, you have everything. It is the same. The source energy have a lot of principles, like the sword, the rose, and they have their which is, you know, it is their tool how to express the source.
Yes.
And when you put them together, you have the soul.
Yes.
But we never use our own soul in that matter. We never listen enough because there's a focus outside of ourselves. So.
Yeah. And I remember in a conversation you had with me, sometimes it can be so powerful. I mean, these are real swords we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen them. They're like the double-handed swords that the old knights used to use. And the energy is so powerful, it actually begins, the swords begin to vibrate. You can feel the vibrations going through the swords. So it must be a very powerful energy that you're tapping into.
Yeah, it is extremely powerful. So you can hurt each other with it too. So here in this angel healing method, it is about to use the source for healing.
Yes.
It is the same, like the source is the penetrating energy, and then the rose is the holding around energy, and then together heals. You can go in, you know, the people who are surging with their hands, putting the hands like this, and then they are surging inside of a body and take out things that shouldn't be there. And I don't mean they take out the lung or something. I mean they take out the negative energy from the body so the body can heal themselves. But you can, as a matter of fact, with this knowledge of those principles, you can go in and meet a human body and all the energy levels, and you can ask the body to let go of these negative energies that the body has, and you use your source energy to come in, but at the same time you use the rose to do it soft.
Yes. Now, I know you're a great believer in the trapped energy within the body, or an incorrect flow of the energy in the body is what causes a lot of the illnesses within people.
Yep.
And it was about 4 years ago, and if you remember, ladies and gentlemen, I've had this healing firsthand, not with the swords, but this moving of the energy, because I'd hurt my leg at the Arthur Findlay College, And AnnCatrinn and her husband Anders came on a holiday on a canal boat that we had at that time, and she asked me why I was limping. I don't know if you remember. And
I remember.
She sat there and she did this. Well, I don't know what she did, but she did this healing on me, and it knocked me out completely. During the healing, it was almost as if she'd hypnotized me. But after 2 sessions, what had been injured for several weeks, AnnCatrin helped me just by clearing the energy in the leg and around, getting the energy moving around the body. So I think I've explained that right.
Yeah.
So it moves us nicely on to the next subject that we've picked on. And I know the swords is part of the healing, but you've done lots of different healing. You've done hypnotherapy, spiritual healing, this energy healing. What got you so interested in wanting to help people to heal the minds, body, and spirit?
It is. I think it is a part of me in a way, because when I was around 30, I opened myself for spirit world and have knowledge that the world was not 2 dimensional. It was not 3rd dimensional. It was 5 and 6 and 7 dimensions. Your mind have no limits. The
Yes.
soul have no limits. And to know that and see the suffering, both the suffering that you have yourself, but also the suffering you see in other people. And just to know that with the knowledge and the responsibility, you can do a big difference, and we can create a world to live in that is really, really great. That is comfortable, safe, happy, and inspiration all the time, instead of lack of inspiration and pain. So that is very driven for me. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it right, but that is what makes me burn inside and want to do more and develop more. And I do so many things in my investigation. So I have myself very much as an experimental person to see what is the consciousness, what is from the human ego, and what is the spirit world. And is it a human who comes in the room energy-wise because of its thinking of me, and what is the spirit world, or what is my fantasy, how to sort it out? That is exciting, because many people are very spiritual and mediumistic in the knowledge, but they don't see that they got messed up because of emotions in the atmosphere. And they listen to the emotions in the atmosphere, and they can interpret it wrong way. And they don't listen to the spirit world because they listen to their own blocks, what they are allowed to say and what they are not allowed to say, and so on. So I kept on going from this teacher as a healer, and I did education in multidimensional psychology, and then I went into the hypnotherapy, and all of them comes together in a magical way. And then when I realized I was, it was an ugly word, what should I say? I was reaching a limit, and I went in a negative spiral. I didn't develop.
Yes.
Suddenly, and then I realized that I started in the wrong end, Martin. When I got experience about these angels and about the source energy, it was so big. So the only one from spirit world I talked to was my grandmother and my father. But the people who come have another need, and I have another need. I need the proof, the evidential for my self-esteem.
Yeah.
To be able to sort out, is this a fantasy out of my fears, or is this a fantasy out of that I don't want to see the reality, or that someone else have the fantasy and I just jump on it and believe in someone else's things. I want it for real, because I think mediumship and spirituality is the science, and them are like this.
Yes.
The science and the mediumship and spirituality, they are hand in hand. And if we can see the truth and be curious, you know how it is. You have these courses in experimental.
Yeah. And you're talking about then you started to realize that there was something different. And it's about 12 years ago, 2008, well, it is 12 years ago, that you decided that you were going to focus on the mediumship side of these energies. And you told me that you started, I know you've been to the Arthur Findlay College because you've been on one of my courses, but you say you've been on lots of courses at the Arthur Findlay College, and you started to develop what I would call conventional mediumship. And is that the pathway that you're now on, or you stick to that pathway, or what?
I'm stick to my own way, I think, and it fits into my pathway also. Now it's the Corona time. Many people who are looking for me and looking for the help, they want advice. They want me to help them to see different possibilities of their life. It's not so often people come for evidential, but I do evidential, and I like to do evidential, and it makes you like a medium and a healer more grounded, because you have to listen and see and give out the information from the spirit world that the teacher know what it is, but you don't know it yourself. You just pass away the information, and it is to very much train trust of the information. I have trained trust from spirit world and just give information, but it has more been like emotional, where you are in life and reading energies and such. So this part is so important, especially as I had it. I had a background of low self-esteem.
Yes.
And with the low self-esteem, and you learn to know very big things that you can't prove, like this cup is red, I show you. You know.
Yeah.
So it's important to show, and it's a very big healing session to have evidential in sitting. If you look at it in a way of healing, it is one of the biggest healing you can do, to put the people in spirit and the persons together, meet each other again. And I have seen so many good things in that.
Yeah, and
you know,
you've developed your mediumship to such a point that, and then you became involved in, I'm going to say, the Spiritualist Movement in Sweden, but you don't have a big organization like the Spiritualist National Union, but you do have lots of communities. And you went to work at one in English as Light Garden. My Swedish pronunciation might be good, but it's Lysgården. Lysgården is, and that's where we first met. And while you've been talking to me, I've been thinking it must be 7 years ago, because I started in full-time mediumship, as a professional medium 7 years ago. And yours was, apart from the Arthur Findlay College, your school at Light Garden was the first one that I visited overseas. So in a way, you gave me a break as what they call an international medium, for want of a better word. So tell us a little bit how you got involved with Light Garden. I know you rebuilt it. It was struggling when you went there, but you left it much stronger when you had to step away.
Yeah, it started with, I went in as a member, and I put my head into it, and why is this, and how is this, and suddenly a few months later, people there had other things to do in life, so they quit, and I just went in to save it, because I know it was important for people to have somewhere to meet. So I don't know what you call it, ordförande, we say in Swedish, when you have the big responsibility of the community. What do you call that in?
Well, if you're the leader.
So I was the leader of that community at that time.
Yeah, we'd call that the leader or the chairman or the president or...
Yeah, something. It was what I was doing. So I worked a lot to build it up. And at the same time, I had my company, Health and Inspiration, and I have treatment. So I did both things. The thing is how it started with mediumship there. We had lots of these meetings. We put in people from all over the country that have something to tell. So they come there and talk about it, and a congregation comes and listen and go home more knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And we had this kind of, what you call it? You call it when you have a congregation and platform working.
Yes. Demonstration.
And you have the demonstration in the churches. We don't have those especially much in Sweden. So we started to have some of those also a bit. So and at the same time I went on my own healing, and in that part it was to I want to purify my mediumship, and I want to purify my transmediumship. So because I want it for real. I don't want this. It is so much messing around the information in those, and when you listen too much to it instead of sitting in the power, you got the false identity with what it is. You got lost in it. I felt lost. So I went at Mia Ottosson. She works at AnnCatrin also. She's from Sweden. 1 week, and she had a woman there run. She would have the trans weekend with an English lady. So I went there and a couple times, and then after that we started to have in Linköping. I put together weekend courses, and that was how I met you. Yes. I have a very old dream of a school, to start a school, and you was the inspiration when I met you. I always got like that, and totally a lot of inspiration, and my old dreams comes for reality so much. You were so much into this too.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk about your health, but due to health reasons, you had to step back from all that, didn't you?
Yeah, because I started to, I was inspired to do this with the RM Academy that I started. And I had the community for Youth Garden, and I had the academy, and I had a background where I had things to heal, but I didn't give it time. And to start an academy, you need a very, very big organization in the administration. And I tried to sort everything out myself. So I ended up very, very sick. So I had cancer and 5 surgeries in 2 years, and I couldn't bear to have the educations, and at the same time, this weekend, no, we can't. I have to do this weekend. It is disappointing for the people, for the students that have to put their money into it, and for the teachers that travel long ways like yourself. So I wanted to take responsibility, and now in the background though, and then I go through the material. We have your material in the education for mediumship, and if I start it again, I will do it and have everything ready, not to create it at the same time.
Yeah.
I started, so it's different.
It was a shame that it had to, because I knew it was a big dream of yours, and the good news is that you're much better now. You know, you've used alternative therapies, you've had the normal therapies that most people would have to go through. So how do you see the future, either for Ariam or Light Garden or a new company altogether? Do you see yourself being a course organizer again and running an academy?
I would love to, but the thing is, I would love to do it. I will not do it on the cost of my life because I need to be careful. So I do background work on it, but I also have started this web shop because I need to have something.
Yes.
I want to give knowledge to people, and when I can't have education, I can have this bookshop and the things for development, for personality and spirituality. freeforum.com I have, and then at the same time I have started when Corona came, but I have started a retreat center. I just have one customer at a time, one client at a time. They come one day, 2 hours treatment, and they then are here out on the countryside. Can walk by the sea, just exist, and then they have 2 hours treatment the day after, and then they go home. And I have really, really good results of that. And I am in the background, so even though they have a house for themselves in their spare time, I am in the house next to this house. So if something happens with their emotions or despair or anything, I can help them. I'm standby time. So that works really, really good. I would love to also put into this healing teacher part with the principles and the spirituality, not only the mediumship for evidential mediumship. I would also love to put that part into educations again, as I worked with before. When we talk about the swords, I have really swords for the students to use. They are very much for real, as you know. And I want people to know this is my soul expressing itself through this sword with another person who I meet their soul. And it's so powerful, and they don't want to let go of each other, these swords. It's so strong. It's magic. And it's the same with the rose and the other principles. It's easier to talk about the swords because it's so much into it to explain. So I would love to do more of those things, but at the moment, I take one day at a time, and I am in this quarantine, you know.
Yes.
Because of I'm a risk person for this COVID-19. But I'm very healthy today and feel really, really good, and lots of inspiration. I'm writing on a book, and I'm translating 2 of your books to put out next year. In Swedish, so I have lots of things going on.
Yes, and I can remember before you became quite poorly, we were planning on bringing you over here to do different healing courses and bringing the swords with us. So hopefully in the future we might be able to do that. But sadly, we're coming near to the end, and there's one standard question that I've asked all the people and they've all been on different pathways of mediumship. They've all had their own individual mediumistic experiences. If you could give someone advice who's thinking of starting out on this journey now, what advice would you give them?
Start with the evidential, so you are grounded. Start to sit in the energy. Count on your own energy to build that up. And if you learn mediumship with evidential, you can handle the reality much better, because you are, how shall I say, people who start with angels out there, they glide away to some fantasy in the end. They are for real, and they have very provable things to come with to you. But if you start there and not with the evidential basics, you are very easy to get lost.
Yeah.
So please do it properly. It is a long, hard and tough and sad way to get lost in the energy.
Yes. AnnCatrin, it's been lovely. I know we only spoke on Thursday because, you know, we chat every 2 weeks. to keep our friendship alive. But thank you for coming today on the couch. I really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, you've been with Martin Kogel on the couch, speaking to AnnCatrin Peterson. Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.